Oh, we love a little bit of nostalgia in this programme. In fact, we've been going for so long, we are nostalgia. But in a week when we've seen rioting students and claims of a new Cold War, we can't help but think back to a better age. Yes, the 1960s, when they did things like protest and spying properly. So we asked the new Statesman's Mehdi Hasan to travel back in time for his roundup of the week in Westminster. Groovy, baby.
Ah, Agent Mehdi. Hello. Worrying times. Intelligence believes the Ruskies are up to their old tricks. The young people are revolting, and even the Liberals have abandoned free love.
Sounds like you need a super spy from the 60s to sort things out. Like me. Yeah, baby. Yes, it might look like Christmas 2010, but this week Westminster time warped back to the 1960s. You thought the Cold War was over? Silly you. This week we were told that a Russian spy had infiltrated one of the great offices of state. Yes, the office of Liberal Democrat MP Mike Hancock. Mike who? Groovy, baby. But is it true? Niet, says the lady involved. This is just the World Cup of jealousy, say the Russians. Oh, we missed the good old days with the honey trap, say some people.
I generally assume that if some very attractive young girl thought that an old blighter like me was so gorgeous, witty, charming, delightful, that there was something funny behind it. And the answer is yes, it was. And the one occasion it got very close, my leading steward who was looking after me sacrificed his body for the nation. No. So all they got was a leading steward instead of the chief of defence intelligence.
So have we got Reds under the bed? More like under the duvet. Talking of duvets, the students re-emerged from their own bedrooms this week to challenge the government again on tuition fees. Earlier in the week, UK Uncut protesters shut down Topshop in Oxford Street because of alleged tax avoidance. The protests are back. It's 1968 all over again, baby. If I was David Cameron or Nick Clegg, I wouldn't be too relaxed. This isn't the end. It isn't even the beginning of the end. It's perhaps the end of the beginning.
To govern is indeed to choose, particularly when there's not very much money. And we have chosen, and I'm not going to apologise for this for 1 minute.
There's a crazy cat. Back in the 1960s, when my Shagyor was born, the Labour Party was left behind by the protests against the Vietnam War. Is the party at risk of being left behind by today's protest movement against the cuts? Ed Miliband's been playing catch-up.
If you run quickly, you can vote both ways. I have to say, if the Kremlin were spying on the Liberal Democrats, we know why. They want a bit of light relief, frankly.
Miliband also accused the coalition of cultural vandalism. Ooh, judo chop. But David Cameron hit back.
He is behaving like a student politician, and frankly, that's all he'll ever be.
I was a student politician. But I wasn't hanging around with people who are throwing bread rolls and wrecking restaurants.
Is it just me? Or was David Cameron looking a little peeved in the Commons?
Isn't the truth that all he can offer us is you've never had it so good on planet Cameron? Yeah. And what does he have against young people?
Groovy, baby. For all the whispering campaigns against Ed Miliband, the man does seem to be getting under David Cameron's skin. The Prime Minister would be wise not to write off Ed Miliband. There was another David who did that. Wonder what happened to him. What is it with people called David? Ed Miliband's got David Miliband. David Cameron's got David Davis. It wasn't just the Lib Dems today. The former Shadow Home Secretary led the Tory revolt to the trebling of tuition fees.
Order, order.
The ayes to the right, 323. The noes to the left, 302.
This has been a groovy week for that thing politicians hate doing most, the U-turn. This week, the Lib Dems U-turned on tuition fees. Labour's Alan Johnson U-turned on the graduate tax. And the Tories U-turned on knife crime. That crazy cat from the 60s, Ken Clarke, tore up the party's manifesto pledge.
We're not setting out absolute tariffs for particular things. What happens is pundits or newspapers suggest levels for particular forms of crime, and then Parliament, in its wisdom, actually enacts them. Doesn't work.
So what's all this WikiLeaks stuff? In my day, in the 1960s, as a super spy, we didn't need emails, baby. I just used invisible ink and my mojo. But now, Her Majesty's government has to fly halfway across the world to explain itself because of the internet.
I'm not going to let WikiLeaks come between the relationship between Britain and Afghanistan. It's an important relationship. It's a very strong relationship.
What happened to freedom, baby? Yeah, freedom! But it's like we're back in the Cold War. It's do as I say, not as I do. The Burmese, the North Koreans, the Chinese, they'll be rubbing their hands at glee the next time the Americans tell them not to censor their own internal dissidents. Judo chop! What a week it's been! Student protests, shops shut down, an international man of mystery arrested, Russian espionage. Perhaps what we need, in the words of that great philosopher, is love, sweet love.